Before you do anything else, give me the next few minutes, because what I'm about to show you about the Golden State Warriors and Domantas Sabonis isn't empty hype. It's a basketball fit so specific, so tailor-made for Steve Kerr's system, that once you understand it, you're gonna be mad you didn't think of it first. I'm not gonna fool you and say it already happened. I'm going to do something better. I'm going to prove to you, step by step, why Sabonis might be a more philosophically perfect piece for this Warriors team than any flashy name you've seen floating around. And at the end, I'm going to show you the obstacle and the accounting move that makes it disappear. Stick with me, because it's the kind of detail 90% of people are going to miss. Let me give it to you straight about where the Warriors are today. No filter, because the fan base needs to hear it. Last season ended in disappointment. The team missed the real playoffs, fell in the play-in, closed the year in the negative. It was the 4th time in 12 seasons under Kerr that the Warriors missed out. And it hurt because this roster was built to compete now. The questions are heavy. Curry is turning 38, Draymond Green 36, Al Horford 40. And Jimmy Butler is coming back from a torn ACL in his right knee, one of the toughest injuries in the sport that took him out for the rest of last season. That's the picture. That's the fuel for everything that comes next. The Warriors aren't in a rebuild, they're in a countdown. Every offseason is one bullet fewer in the chamber, and when you're in a countdown with Stephen Curry, you have to make the right move, not just the loud one. And that's where the team's math points to a very specific need almost nobody is talking about. Everyone looks at the Warriors and thinks they need more shooting, more scoring. But pay attention, what this Warriors team needs most, truly, is 2 things time took away from them: rebounding and playmaking from the front court. Draymond Green was, for a decade, the passing brain of this team. The guy who grabbed the rebound, pushed the ball, and orchestrated everything from the middle of the floor. But Draymond is 36, the legs aren't the same. Rebounding was never his strength. And Horford at 40 is a controlled minutes piece. The Warriors today are a team that loses the battle of the boards and depends almost entirely on Curry to create. Hold on to that, because it's the key. The Warriors need a new brain in the front court, and there's a guy on the market who is, maybe, the best passing center in the entire league. You already know who it is. But before I place the piece, let me update you on Domantas Sabonis, because there are details here that change the conversation. Sabonis has been on the Sacramento Kings since 2022, when he came over from Indiana in that historic Halliburton trade. And in Sacramento, he became a double-double legend, close to 19 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists per game across his run with the franchise. 3-time All-Star, NBA rebounding leader, one of the most underrated passers in the entire sport. And he plays center. Let that sink in. One of the best playmakers in the league in a 6'10" body who rebounds like a monster. Is there a closer description to the dream Draymond Green for Kerr's system? A passing brain in the front court, but who also gives you 20 points and 13 rebounds? Except, and here comes the but that opens the door, Sabonis' last season was a disaster. He suffered a torn meniscus in his left knee, had surgery in February, and the year ended right there. He played just 19 games. His averages dropped to their lowest level since his rookie days. And Sacramento collapsed along with him. 22 wins, 60 losses, the second worst record in the West. The franchise went into a full rebuild, drafted a rookie guard to be the future, and the young bigs took Sabonis' spot. In other words, Sacramento turned the page. And a super expensive veteran, coming off injury, who's no longer the center of the project, becomes what? Trade currency. Sabonis was made available on the market. The whole league knows that. Hornets, Raptors, Wizards, several teams showed up, but no deal closed. And why didn't it close? 3 reasons, and you need to understand all 3 because they're exactly what creates the opportunity for the Warriors. First, the contract. Sabonis is owed more than $45 million next season and nearly $49 the year after. That's a heavy commitment. Second, the injury. Teams get nervous about a 30-year-old center coming off knee surgery. And third, the most fascinating, the style. Sabonis isn't the standard defensive center everybody hunts for. He's an offensive playmaking center of a unique style, hard to fit into any ordinary scheme, and it's precisely that unique style that tanked his market value. But pay attention to the most beautiful irony of this story. The style that does not fit any ordinary team fits perfectly in Golden State, because Steve Kerr's system isn't an ordinary scheme. It's a system of perpetual motion, of handoffs, of the ball whipping around, of blind screens where a center who passes is worth gold. The Warriors are literally the only place in the league where Sabonis' unique style stops being a flaw and becomes a superpower. Imagine Curry coming off a handoff with Sabonis at the elbow. The defense panics, stick to Curry, and Sabonis rolls free to finish or find the cutter. Leave Curry and he kills you from three. It's the same poison the Warriors ran with peak Draymond, only with a guy who gives you double the points and rebounds. And the Warriors' historic playoff problem, the lack of rebounding and a reliable second creator when Curry sits, solved in one move. Now it's time for the piece that locks everything, the one I promised back at the start. Pay attention, the obstacle is money. The Warriors are in an extremely tight financial situation. Curry, Draymond, Horford, and especially Jimmy Butler's monster contract, nearly $57 million for next season, eat up almost the entire cap. The Warriors have no room to sign anyone relevant. The only way to add Sabonis is through a trade, sending salary back. And this is where the piece that locks becomes the piece that unlocks. Think, Jimmy Butler's contract, that nearly $57 million, is the easiest asset the Warriors have to move. If the front office looks at that surgically repaired knee, at that age, 37, and at that giant salary and decides the risk is too high, that contract becomes the perfect chip. A big salary that, matched with one more piece, lines up with Sabonis' $45 million. The math closes, and on Sacramento's side, a team rebuilding, taking on assets and flexibility might be exactly what they want. See how the impossible finds a path? It's not fantasy. It's the cold logic of the NBA spreadsheet, and because Sabonis' market is depressed from the injury, the contract, and the style, the Warriors could land a 3-time All-Star at a price that under normal conditions would be unthinkable. It's the definition of buying talent on sale, but I promised real investigation, so let's get to the buts, because they're real. First, defense. A front court with Sabonis is not a defensive fortress, and the Warriors always relied on defense and versatility to win. Trading the Draymond of years past for a slower defensive center is a risk. Second, health. Adding a 30-year-old center coming off knee surgery to a roster that's already the oldest in the league, Curry, Horford, Draymond, is a bet inside a bet. And third, does Golden State really want to give up Butler's playoff experience and grit, even injured, for such a different profile? These are the questions that make a front office hesitate, and it's that hesitation that keeps everything in the realm of what if. For now. Now let me paint the full picture for you, the way it would exist on an October night in the Bay Area. Imagine the ball swinging. Curry cuts, comes off a handoff with Sabonis, and the whole defense panics. Sabonis rolls, catches the pocket pass, and instead of just finishing, he reads the floor and finds Podziemski cutting back door for an easy layup. Imagine Sabonis grabbing the defensive rebound and immediately launching the break with Curry flying up the sideline. Imagine, for the first time in years, the Warriors winning the battle of the boards and having a second creative brain that works even when Curry rests. Can you see that Warriors team giving the league one last big scare? Because I can. And Steve Kerr, the guy who invented modern motion basketball, knows better than anyone what a center who thinks would do for his system. And that's why I want you to understand what's really at stake. It's not just a trade, it's the Warriors' philosophy in the final stretch of the Curry era. As long as Curry is bought in and playing at a high level, the franchise isn't going to blow everything up. It's going to walk that razor-thin line between building a competitive team around him and not draining the bank of assets. And a calculated bet on a genius center of a unique style, available at a depressed price, who fits the system like no other team in the league could. That's exactly the kind of smart play that philosophy allows. It's aggressive without being suicidal, huh? It's the hand of someone who wants one last dance without burning the entire future. Before I hand you back the question, let me open the backstage door on the other side, Sacramento's side, because that's where the trade lives or dies, and almost no channel bothers to explain it. The King's head of basketball made one thing crystal clear. They are not giving up Sabonis in a simple salary dump. They want real value. We're talking at least 1, possibly 2 first-round picks, plus young talent that serves the rebuild, so forget the fantasy of sending only Butler's contract and calling it a day. A package that makes Sacramento say yes would probably need Butler's big salary to close the math, plus a young and cheap gem, the kind of rookie contract piece a rebuilding team loves, plus at least 1 first-round pick. It's a steep price. And this is where the Warriors front office has to look itself in the mirror and answer, do we have enough young assets and picks to do this without emptying the little future we have left? Because the Warriors spent years of draft capital building the title teams. The vault of picks isn't infinite, and there's a psychological layer I love in this story because it's pure backstage chess. Sabonis' market cooled off. Around early July, the buzz was already that he might not even leave Sacramento, that the suitors had backed off, that nobody wanted to pay the price combined with the knee risk. And it's exactly at that moment, when everybody gives up, when the headline becomes he stays, that a smart, patient buyer slips in through the back door and takes the talent at a bargain. In the NBA, the best deals are rarely made at the peak of the frenzy. They're made in silence when the rest of the league has already turned its attention elsewhere. If the Warriors wanted to play that game, the moment of low value would be the perfect moment to strike. Buy when nobody else wants to buy. That's how smart teams land all-stars for pennies. And there's Draymond Green in this equation, which is the question that separates the casual fan from the one who truly understands. How do Sabonis and Draymond coexist? Both want to organize from the front court. Both are passing brains. Would it be too much? Or would it be genius to have two orchestrators on the same roster, rotating, keeping the offense smart from the first minute to the last, with Curry always running around one of them? Maybe Sabonis takes the lead role and Draymond slides to power forward in certain lineups, becoming an anchor defender while Sabonis runs the show. Maybe they rotate so Curry never plays a second without a passing brain beside him. Or maybe it's too similar a piece in the same spot. That's the unknown. A serious front office breaks down in a closed room with film, with data, with simulations, before pulling any trigger. And it's precisely because that unknown is so rich that the scenario is so debatable. So I hand you back the question, Warriors fan, would you do it? Would you send Jimmy Butler and his grit away for one of the best passing centers in the league, tailor-made for Kerr's system, knowing about the knee, knowing about the defense, knowing about the age? Or would you hold Butler, bet the knee comes back 100%, and run the last dance with the core you already know? There's no easy answer, and that's why this is one of the most delicious debates of the offseason. Before you go, keep the timing in mind. Curry wants to extend and keep playing. The clock on the dynasty era is ticking. The Warriors lose the rebounding battle and depend too much on Curry to create. Sabonis is available, with his value on the floor, and his style fits Kerr's system better than anywhere else on earth. And Butler is a big contract that serves as a chip. The ingredients are on the table, all of them. Someone just has to strike the match. And in the NBA, when the ingredients line up like this, the wait is rarely long. And let me leave you with one last thought to chew on because it sums up everything. Ordinary teams are scared of Sabonis' unique style, but the Warriors were never an ordinary team. The entire franchise in the Kerr era was built on turning different into an advantage, on taking pieces others didn't know how to use and turning them into weapons. Draymond was just an undersized power forward until the Warriors reinvented the position around him. Curry was too small to lead a champion until he broke every record. If there's one place in the entire NBA capable of looking at an injured, expensive, oddly styled Sabonis and seeing not a problem but the final piece of one last puzzle, that place is the Bay Area. And that's why, as unlikely as it seems, this is the scenario I most want to see happen. So that's it. I didn't bring you a lie. I brought you the smartest basketball fit nobody is talking about. Comment down below. Curry and Domantas Sabonis in Kerr's system. Does that save the last dance? Or is it too big a bet for such an old team? I read it all. If you made it this far, drop the like and subscribe, because the day a bomb like this hovers over the Bay Area, and Sabonis' name is going to circulate until he finds a new home, you'll want to be here so we can react together. Live. See you in the next one. Thanks.